Morning, morning, morning. How my people doing this Monday?
And I'm thinking about getting into this week.
Doing good, man.
Nice, nice. And I'm letting people in. Any wins? Last week we had some wins. We're all a bunch of losers.
I had some wins.
Yeah.
Oh man, Matt,
Yes, sir.
how's that team coming, dude?
Good, man. They're finally scheduled some decent appointments. I'll be up on the screen here soon. Wrangling that children.
I'm trying
Yeah, I
to
had closed. Yeah. Had about, I'm trying to think now. 4 deals go through.
Nice.
Just from those guys. One of them was mine, but the other three were the guys set appointments. So I'm just taking time right now that my production's slowing down, but it's fine because I'm trying to teach them. And they're finally scheduling some qualified appointments. And I taught them that identity thing, and that has helped tremendously. Those guys,
What?
To get past the BS at the doors. It's kind of cool. The identity thing.
Yeah.
Like giving them an ID, like giving the homeowner an identity, and that's really helped out quite a bit for these guys. So they're still practicing, and they're all pretty new at this, but it's been pretty awesome to see the growth. So
Keep me posted on that.
I think the thing that we're struggling with right now is trying to get a. What's that? Oh, I will absolutely.
You're
I
struggling
think
with
the biggest thing we're struggling with right now is just trying to get.
Did we lose him?
It was like right when he was about to say it too, right? Like
left this on a cliffhanger.
right.
He worked in the
That's what he does.
Internet sucks.
Matt. You cut out right when you're about to
sorry.
talk, man.
No, I was just gonna say the thing we're struggling with is getting appointments within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
Everyone seems to be scheduling appointments like a week, 2 weeks, a month out. It's like, oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been really weird.
Yeah, record exactly what send it over.
Okay, sounds good. We'll do.
Yeah. Consistently
that a
getting
lot
looked
too,
at,
by the way.
different. Boy, Sam in here, give me one sec.
Now I get that a lot too, where people want to schedule out of ways.
Yo, Joseph, we're doing situation questions today.
You got situation questions, problem awareness questions.
Okay.
Setting.
I have a real quick question for you too, because I've listened to some of your previous videos on here, right? And one thing that I want to start doing,
Mute everybody else.
What's that?
I can't hear you.
All right. I said one thing that I was wondering if, I don't know if somebody can throw it in the chat or somehow, how you say when you go into a house, you do like a sheet of paper with a line down the middle and you're like, oh, rather than this, do that, rather than this, that. I guess I understand the concept. I guess I just like would really like to see like kind of what that piece of paper would look like, if that makes sense. Or am I just being...
That's not situation. That's towards the close and we'll go through it. but it's retarded. Like, here's my blank sheet. Like, but it's just
I mean, is there certain things specific that you put on there?
I'll put one thing on it. Like I'll have it. I'll draw a line of like what their electric bill is, and then I'll put like what monthly electric bill, monthly solar payment, and then 1 to 10 years, what's going to come out of their pocket with the utility. 1 to 10 years, what's going to come out of the pocket with solar. 1 to 25 years, what's going to come out of the pocket for the utility. 1 out of 25 years, what's going to come out of the pocket for solar, and then savings, and then savings over 10 years, and then savings over 25 years. I'll also have what their electric bill will be at 10 years and what their electric bill will be at 25 years. And that's literally it. As far as, yeah. Thank you, bro. That's towards the close, but not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That clears it pretty good.
The situation of problem awareness, like in door to door, a lot of times we're using it's like basically like 3 different situations. You got the situation what's going on in the state, because there'll be like some laws, right? And so you got that situation. You have the homeowner situation, like how old is your roof, your breaker box, like how does the sun rotate over, how much electricity you use, like, and then you have like inside the house more of like the NEPQ, like situational questions, like and then the problem awareness question, like your electricity with the power company, do you like how things are going, and then go from there. So yeah, it's on the doorstep. The situation could be like what's going on, like, and you use that, and then I usually use I'll weave in like what's going on, and each market's going to be a little bit different. New markets have different, and you can for appointments for urgency. I'll anytime you don't want to come across as salesy, just bring that to light. What I mean by that is, like, I'll say it because like out here, like California they're trying to get on this NEM 3.0, which would just put the kibosh on residential solar. And so like to create some urgency, I'm like, this is going to sound so salesy. But you can go check it out for yourself. This is what's being proposed, and it's going to go into effect by like the end of November. And so it's just like, first come, first serve type of thing. But just head, and you can make up anything too. So like some things to build, if you're not getting urgency by digging into their problems, some other ways to do it is like the power lines can only handle so much power, can only take so much backgate at a time. If I'm in a cul-de-sac and there's 3 homes that already have solar, like nobody else in that cul-de-sac can go solar. It's gonna be too much backfeed for that one transformer. And so once it's filled, it's filled. You think the electric company is gonna, replace that $30,000 transformer? Like, yeah, right. And so you have net metering, you have how much power the grid one you can use freaking forever, right? I did have a neighborhood in Jersey that too much solar for that, but so it did happen, so I'm not lying. So you can build urgency for appointments with the net metering, with whatever laws might be going on or going away, and then you can kind of hedge against it by just saying this is going to sound totally salesy and gross. In reality, though, this is what's going on. This is the situation. But yeah, for situation questions, it's like a lot going on with power right now. The different laws that are passed, the different things that you're leveraging, and then their situation. Like, can I ask how old your roof is? And I use their situation just to mostly like this takeaways to keep the frame. I don't know if I could even do that for you. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I should probably ask like how old is your roof? How much is your electrical panel? How long have you been in the home for using XYZ company? Do you like? And then or like what's like the main reason you chose them to be your electric provider? That's like a jovial tone, because kind of
Right.
laugh. So there's, so you got situation questions, and with door to doors, we kind of use 3 different ones. But the one in the house, like I always kind of felt weird, like, do you like Envy Energy? They're like, I didn't really get very far with that. They kind of feel weird.
Every
right?
time I try to say that, they're just like, I mean, I guess they're fine. Like,
Exactly. So
and I pay for it.
yeah, so when you're in the house, switch it up with and just like your electricity with the power provider, with the power company. Do you like how things are going, or do you like how things are? It'll work way better.
Gotcha.
You're probably wearing this question in the house. Just like the electricity with the power, like do you like how things are going? That one will land a lot better for you. I added that one to the sheet. You know what sheet I'm talking about, boys? Google Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I added that one this morning.
All right.
Hey, Joseph, as far as you guys can
There
hear me
you
okay, right? Hey there. Yeah, sorry. I was wrangling children at the hotel lobby. So, but as far as the situation, awareness questions and stuff like that go, how do you feel about doing I paint kind of a picture of the power company in my presentation and then kind of ask them a situation-based question after that. Sometimes I worry if I'm talking too much, but it seems to be pretty effective lately. So I kept doing it. But I don't know how you guys feel as far as NEPQ is, because I don't want to sound salesy. So I had to really practice it a lot with tonality. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, like building a picture as far as building pain and stuff like that, like how does that fit in with all this?
Yeah, the situation, because you have, when you're in the presentation, you have the situation, like, and we're all kind of clueless, right? And building a picture, I will say, I've gotten better traction with this. So I used to like, kind of like going a little bit head to head with the power company, like, but I'm painting a picture more of, and to bring, I got this from my buddy. And it's focusing on the power lines. It's like 100-year-old infrastructure. And so it's like, yeah, the power company, like, it doesn't matter who's owning that. They're now they have to somehow be profitable with this 100-year-old infrastructure. They're just going to keep putting more and more band-aids. Like, that's why your bill goes up. Like, that's what they're working with. It's like, we landed on the moon, man, but we still have to use that. So it doesn't matter. And it's cool because you're not like bad mouthing the utility. It's just like, you are powerless, And so as far as like painting a picture, you have this situation like that. I wouldn't spend too much time. I would look at their blink rate and see if they're like, so when somebody's really focused, when you're watching an amazing, when you're watching a movie that you love, you'll probably blink like 3 times a minute. In normal conversation with people, we'll blink like 12 to 15 times. When we're like under stress or like distracted, we'll blink like 40 times, 50 times, 70 times a minute. And it's completely unconscious, not even aware of it. So if they're blinking a lot, you lost them. Or there's something about what you said that you need to. But if you're talking about like contract, don't ever use the word contract. But you say the word contract and they start to blink, that's your objection. So that's kind of like a way where, because you can kind of like talk about the situation. Like, there's a lot going on with energy. I don't want to like go too far down this rabbit hole, but long story short, these power lines are 130 years old, man. Like, I don't care if, Bill Gates owned it, Elon Musk owned it. Elon Musk would actually come up with something, but at the end of the day, that's what they're working with. And they're just slapping a bunch of Band-Aids. And in the long run, do Band-Aids end up costing us more or saving us? Exactly. And that's kind of where we're at. So it's not like they're a bad company. They're just doing the best they can with what they have. And then you could be like, do you want to rely on, or Mr. Jones he just doesn't feel comfortable relying on, you know, 100-year-old infrastructure for power. He just wasn't comfortable with that. You don't want, anyways. So I've kind of, you can paint the picture, and I usually paint it with the situation, what's going on in the world, man, to build urgency and to you're trying to work with human behavior. So you want to make it, you want to make it easy for them to justify leaving the power company and going with solar. You want to give them justification.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so what I've been doing is there's a part where we have a slide that has like the long-term savings for solar. So I kind of walk them through, like, have you ever rented a house? They're like, yeah. Cool, awesome. What usually happens at the end of that rental agreement? Like, how long are those agreements for? They're like, oh, it's a year. Gotcha. What happens at the end of that? Like, well, usually it goes up. I said, okay, but do you have an option at the end of it? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what options do you have? And they're like, well, we can move out or we can sign the paperwork and have the higher thing. And I said, okay, so your power company right now has you in a long-term contract.
Have
They
you
change their rates.
just put in front of that, have you considered?
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. So have you considered that
turn statements into questions?
Okay, so have you considered that your power company has you in a long-term contract? They raise their rates. They check your credit before you even join up for something you need to have, and they do all this stuff without your permission. How does that make you feel, or what do you think about that? And that's where I've gained a lot of
Are
traction.
you okay with that? Do you agree with that?
Are you okay with that? Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it too. I didn't even think about that.
And I'm like, are you okay with that? You agree with that?
Okay.
No. What is it about that you don't agree with exactly?
Gotcha.
So it's like, and I'm not trying to offend you when I ask this, you can soften it. Have you considered that you're, kind of stuck in this, never ending contract with the utility company where there's, literally nothing in writing? They can raise your rate whenever they want to. Like, do you agree with that?
Mm.
And then make sure you probe on that, man. What is it about that you don't agree with exactly?
Okay.
That's where you get emotion.
I like the softening of it too. Like, hey, I don't mean to offend you, but I mean, what do you think about this? Like,
This have you considered?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to offend you when I ask you this. You guys are cool people. Have you considered? And then that way you can turn the statement into a question. So you're not rambling on and on and on. And then, yeah. And then, yeah. And like, do you agree with that? You okay with that? No. What is it about that you're not okay with exactly?
Okay.
And then once they'll start to spill information. That's when you go, hold on. Tell me more about that. How long has it been going on? How does it make you feel? Has that an impact on you? How does that affect you when that happens? Blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Yeah, I never thought about turning that statement into a question in the beginning because I do feel like I'm rambling on and on. And my tonality gets real quiet. I get really kind of intense. And that's where I noticed I'm getting a lot more traction with that part of it. But I didn't realize to do the what's that?
You have you're turning up 4 people to go set appointments. Pretty soon your is going to be completely booked, And so your presentation times, how long is your presentations usually taking?
They can take anywhere from getting spammed from Virginia. Sorry. They can take anywhere from the quickest one I've had so far was about an hour and 20 minutes. The longest one was the one I mentioned when I first started. This was 5.5 hours long. So that hasn't happened since.
Yeah. No, it totally can. Mine were, Solar City made us go on 5 different platforms just to sign somebody up. Is a nightmare. It's a referral. They're like, sign me up. And I'm like, hold on. And there for 3 hours, a nightmare. So each person has kind of their own, each company has their own sign up process. But because I used to feel that they need to know this much, right? But it ain't about me, it's about them. And so when I open up and just say, hey, we can go over a lot of things, I prepared quite a bit for you. but this might be, more appropriate from your perspective. What would be the most valuable way for us to spend this time together today so we can, focus more on you and your situation and, kind of what it is that you're looking for, just see if we can even help. And then whatever they list,
Yeah, that's what's been cutting the time down right there. Because then I have a list of stuff that I write down while they're saying it, and then I go, cool. Then I have something I can go over and make sure you guys understand things that are important to me.
Yep.
That's really helped out a lot. So good stuff. I gotta send you one of my closes, by the way. I keep forgetting to do that. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're cool. Yeah, that'll cut down. Whatever's important to them is important to them. And
Okay.
if it's because at the end of the day, there's things that they need to know. Obviously, they're going to be signing certain things that say certain things, or have to do like a welcome call that's going to go over a couple of things. And so, obviously, make sure you go over those. But it's whatever's important to them. I'm like, cool. What's making that come up? What is it about that that's important? Tell me more about that, just so I understand the back. And don't just take it at face. Yeah. You do good.
All right, thanks, brother.
Of course, anytime you can come in. Where are we at? Where's my boys at? Good morning, Niles. Don't sleep on me, man. I got you.
Good morning.
Fire away, brother. Fire away. I'll call on you because I love you all.
Oh, me?
Yeah. Fire away, coach.
So in the
I'm an asshole.
Reese's pitch in the document or whatever, it just kind of talks, and I guess this isn't really like a situation question or what we're going over, but it doesn't really have like any questions. It's kind of just like talking basically the whole time. Is that kind of how you want to do, is just kind of talk, or what kind of questions do you throw in there, kind of break it up?
Door pitch, which you're talking about Reese's door pitch?
Yeah.
So door to door is dynamic. I've tried to say the same exact thing on the doorstep. I don't think I have. I try. My dogs but it's, you don't know what's behind that door, right? And so I would shift the focus from script to like bullet points. Like what are the bullet points that I need to cover on the doorstep, right? Because if I'm going on a script and they say something that takes me off the script, where do I go? If I'm just memorizing, it's like, okay, crap. So I would be more focused on the bullet points. Like at the beginning, I want to get into a two-way dialogue, and I want to two-way dialogue. I want to use identity as soon as possible, and I want to leverage that. And it's going to come about a little bit differently on each doorstep, not even answer your damn question. I'm sounding like a politician here, my man. The tonality is going to be the same, super chill, detached. You're going to be standing back. You're not going to be front. You're going to have your left foot back a little bit. So like if your feet here, have your left foot back and turn, and then let them interrupt you and kind of be looking a little confused, like at the roof, and then let them be the first ones to talk. So like little things like that are going to be the same. I always open up with just Joseph. Maybe you could come up for just a moment. And then depending on what's, going on, you have your bullet points. At the beginning, there are certain things that I wanted, like the big rocks. I'm sure you guys have, like Stephen Covey's analogy about how to do management, how you get the big rocks in first, right? And then the little rocks, and then the sand, and then the water, and then you can all fit it in. Everyone's probably seen that analogy, right? The doorstep, it's kind of like that. So you do have a little bit of time where you can get the big rocks in, meaning like before they can object. And that sounds terrible and not anything. But like in some markets where it's like crazy saturation with solar, sometimes I'm like, your neighbor Kathy, she buys your electricity. I say literally all this before I pause. Your neighbor Kathy, she buys electricity from us, not NV Energy. No, we're not selling solar. Is it a ridiculous idea if we decided to, you know, stop selling solar panels and instead just sell the electricity? Is that crazy? Would that be weird? And then I pause there.
Okay.
So in door to door, like you can, that's one way to get ahead of the misinformed preconceptions that people have about solar. It's not crazy long, but it's pretty long. And that's not good English. Like there should have been 5 periods in there, right? But where you pause is huge. You can, at the very beginning, it's so fragile. And everything you're saying is just to buy you another like 30 seconds. So you have to be super, super careful about that. And you, as much as possible, you do want focus to be on them. But that's one way to get ahead of it. But that is a paragraph, right? But you can get the big rocks in there that way. Was that your question, Niles, or what was your question? Did I even address it at all?
That was good.
Not good enough.
Kind of. I guess just because you're doing like identity, and I guess you're asking that question, like, you probably know of people that are as dumb as a box of rocks or whatever, and then that's kind of they can agree with that question, kind of make it a two, like, I guess, how do you make it a two-way dialogue? Like, because in that script there's like no questions or whatever, and I know
Yeah.
points, but what are some more questions that you could ask in between all that talking?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get all that out. That's a lot. And so like with identity, it's like, okay, cool. Not you, you know, but sometimes we get these complete idiots in here. And I'm sure you probably worked with people, you know people that are, you know, kind of like that. Every time I speak with them, they all say the same thing. Solar, not interested. I'm good. Like that's like a shortened version that you could use.
Okay. And
They as you notice, they usually interrupt you.
at that, okay.
Well, no, like you could ramble forever. They're going to interrupt you and you'll be in a two-way conversation right there. But with the identity was a little bit different than the example that I gave you. But I think an easy way with identity is just like not you, and you kind of interrupt yourself in the beginning because the most important thing is focus. Focus is the number one currency there is in the world right now. Focus. Like you're competing against so much stuff. And when somebody starts a sentence and halfway in, they interrupt themselves and start something else, the brain doesn't have a choice but to keep listening. They're like, because they're trying to make sense of what the hell's going on. So you're literally, that's actually good. It sounds like you can't speak English, which I did have to take speech lessons. But when you interrupt yourself mid-sentence and go another way, they're trying to, it creates curiosity and keeps focus. Because if you lose focus, you're done. Like focus is everything. And so it's like, hey, real quick, maybe we can help you out. I just got to say, like Matt had a gorgeous one with his identity. It's gorgeous. It's actually the best that I've seen from any of you guys. But you can kind of interrupt yourself real quick. I just got to say this. I just got to be honest, man. Like I speak with a lot of people, not often. You know, sometimes you get these complete idiots, and I'm sure you probably worked with somebody like that, know somebody that's like that. Every time they open the door, they all say the same thing, like solar, not interested. And I get it, you know. Solar is one of those things where the less you know about it, the more you think you know. And then you can transition from there.
Okay. And the less you know, the more you think you know. You kind of like stopped and then you just keep going, like no question or
no. I'll use that at that. Yeah, it's always like one of those things where the less you know, the less you know about it, the more you think you know. And then it's like, and I'm not even the final say, but you know, your neighbor Tim. And then you can, if you're doing loan, PPA, and then you can transition. I don't know if I can even do that for you. I should probably ask. But as long as they're engaged, but you can get that much out. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can kind of interrupt yourself, like, hey, maybe you could help me out. Just Joseph just came. And quick side note, not you, but sometimes we get these complete whatever.
Perfect.
Not
That-
like this, it's like this, and you can get that in.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, solar is one of those things, the less you know about it, the more you think you know. And then you can, real quick, your neighbor John, whatever.
Okay.
Or you can be like, or you can go like, it's not the first time you've heard about solar, I'm sure you can do like bring darkness to light. So it's like, I know you guys are getting hounded with solar. You guys getting called. Like, how many calls do you guys have? How many times people call you a week, right? How many times people stop by your door, right? And you can bring darkness to light. Like, whatever you bring, it loses any power that it might have when you bring it to light. So it's like you guys get hammered with door to door. People are calling you, trying to like shove panels in your face. Like, anyways,
Mhm.
I'm sure you've probably seen that, right? Yeah. But that at that point, you can either reference the neighbor, or you can be like, I don't even know if this could work for you. I do have a couple quick questions, like the roof here, da da da. But anyways, but that first little part is a quick way with the identity. Not you, but sometimes you get these people, dumb as a box of rocks. I'm sure you probably work with somebody, know somebody kind of like that. Every time we come across the same thing, they all say the same thing. So, not interested. I'm good. And I get it. So it's one of the things, the less you know about, the more you think you know. And then you can use the neighbor. You can do like a situational question for them, or anyways, depends on where they're at that point. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. That helped.
I got you. Fire away, man. I asked you, you son of a gun. Fire away.
Hey, Joseph, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fit in the identity you just talked about, because I do HVAC, so it's pretty much the same thing up here in Canada. Like, people do a bunch of door-to-door selling, like heat pump and stuff like that. So it's pretty much the same type of situation that you guys have with solar down in the US. So I'm trying to fit in that identity in the script part, but I'm not really sure where I should fit it at. So I just
Something
wanted.
that you're always using, by the way.
So it
It's-
depends, like on how the conversation is going, or
you want to switch out your ideas for identity.
your
So
what?
you want to switch out ideas for identity,
Okay.
and it's going to be something throughout the process. So like, even with like, if a customer's like saving money, like it's like, okay, have you always been the type of person, where saving money's been important to you? Have you always been that way? And that just makes it, they're that type of person.
Okay.
So you don't have to change around all your questions. You can just tweak them just a little bit. Like, are you this type of person, that type of person?
Yeah, makes sense. So the other question I have for you is the hard thing, the resistance I face is when I'm trying to transition into because most heating system are in home. Like, we don't really much check the outside unit, because we have like 2 feet of snow over the winter, so it's not really possible to always go check the outside unit. So mainly what we do is we go inside the house, but that's when we face the most resistance. So I'm trying to figure out the way, like, to ease up that transition. And so far, what I had like in mind is to just ask the people like mixed up kind of like problem awareness question between those situation awareness question. Like,
Say that
after
again.
asking them what type of system they have is more like question like just out of curiosity, like, do you actually know how much you're supposed to pay for a house like yours?
Here, back up. I had a thought that I wrote down because I didn't want to. I want to make sure I shared it with you. So
Yeah.
you're getting at the when it comes time to transition into the home.
Yeah.
Okay. At what point are you trying to transition into the home?
Usually, like, we can't really much do like a lot of situation question at the doorstep with heating system, so
Why?
well, 2 reasons. Like, right now it's not an issue, but over the winter it gets like 0 degrees outside, sometimes 5 degrees outside, so it's not really cold warm, and people don't want to stay like 5-10 minutes having the conversation outside their house. So we
We would
usually
go
do like,
or in Jersey, and Jersey would have 2 feet of snow on the roof. I'm like, your roof is sexy. I'd pull my car up in their parking lot. I'd leave the door wide open so it looked like it wouldn't stay long, and then I'd go knock on the door.
okay,
You just got to get in the house quicker.
okay. So that's why I'm trying to be in the house quicker. So right now, like, we try to do it after asking a couple of situation questions. So like, how old is your heating? What kind of heating system are you guys using here? How old is the heating system? All right. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Like,
So two things. I'm not sure if it's possible, but you could break your thing, your process up into like a 2-touch, and like the easiest way to get inside the house would be like making it a 2-touch. So it's like cool. I'll put together some sort of report, whatever, and then I'll come back. I got to drop one off to this neighbor, and then when you knock, or you can be like, cool, just doing reports at a dot and show up with nothing in your hands, and then have like your iPad in the car. And then the moment that you get like your first buying sign, be like, actually, it's easier if I show you. Let me grab my iPad. And you grab your iPad and you walk right back. You can walk right in the house and they just follow you. It's like the easiest way to get in the house, actually.
yeah.
Is
But
But then-
most of because I have a sales team, and most of them, like, they don't have their car with them. So I'm trying to figure out a way that also them can use, so I can like teach them.
So if they my favorite way to get inside the house, if I like have my like iPad with me, you're going through, you're building value, you're you're connecting, going through the questions, and then the first time that they like show like a buying sign,
Yeah.
My favorite line is, if that makes sense to you, the next step is just to make sure it makes sense for us. You got like a place we can come inside, like a corner of the table, take a few notes, my shoes on, shoes off. But the line is, if that makes sense to you, the next step is to make sure it makes sense for us.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
So it's kind of like a couple things, like, and this is getting like nitty gritty. And if you want to, it's called entrainment. If you want to watch a guy who does this very well, his name is Darren Brown. He does some crazy stuff with entrainment, but it's crazy how much you can create automatic behavior following just through entrainment. So the first thing is like, hi, like when you say, you do an eyebrow flash and then you turn slightly to the side. Hi, I'm just Joseph. And so like the motion creates emotion. We both know that. And so if the opposite of an eyebrow flash is like when you're mad, right? And so if you can get them to do these micro things, they're just, it compounds. And so it will be a lot easier to follow your lead when you go for the house. So eyebrow flash, hey, and then I'm just Joseph. You can like point to the side, and then just a little bit, just enough for them to reorient the shoulders. So you get the eyebrow flash, reorient, you point, they look, and then you got like 3 compliances in like 15 seconds, right? And then you can have your approach, which I'd love to hear. And then a good transition is like, if that makes sense to you, the next step is just to make sure it makes sense for us. Like, is this on the inside or outside? Cool, let's go take a look at that real quick. Whatever part, you can make some part up that's, they're not going to know. Like, cool, let's go take a look at that real quick. So you can get like the small compliances with the eyebrow flash, turning sideways, and you should always do that.
Makes sense. Is there a way I could send you like the actual like intro and
You can tell it to me right now.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll do it. So are you guys the homeowner here?
Yeah, what's going on, man? What's up?
Yeah, I apologize. I'm just Julian. Like, I don't have much time. I have to get to an appointment, but I stopped by to see if you guys had taken advantage of the free energy assessment program that like lowers the cost of your area's electric bills because of all that high inflation going on. a lot of your neighbors have actually done that. I've just finished the assessment with your neighbors down the road. I don't know if you know him, Mr. Joseph. Have you guys actually done that yet?
You slow down. Slow down. And your tonality. And it's coming across super salesy, my man.
All right. I've actually haven't practiced much. Like I'm just trying to figure out like the script so far. To be
Yeah,
frank.
your reps will do about half as much as you do, or more.
Yeah.
So whatever you're able to do, that's what they'll be able to do. If that, or half that.
Makes sense. But is like the main structure like beside like tonality and speaking like too fast, because that's my main problem in life in general.
Same. I like chew gum and have different things, and you should never move quicker than you can move in water. Otherwise, you're communicating heavily fear, doubt, uncertainty. You're creating so much skepticism if you're moving quick at all. You should be fluid, relaxed. You should be the most comfortable person wherever you are, most composed person. Talking slow. I know that I like got them when they're finishing my sentences.
Okay.
With the way that you said that, is there any chance in hell that they'd be able to finish your sentence?
No, never.
And then the structure is good. There's a lot that could be taken out. And you could get into a two-way dialogue by turning one of those into like a no question. Like, is it a ridiculous idea if da-da-da? Would you be opposed to that? And then once you like get agreement with that, like you can kind of give it like a brief outline of the process and then transition into the house. So like, do that again, say it again.
Do you want me like to do tonality or just tell you the?
That's something that you have to like work on and rehearse. So I don't expect you to have magic tonality like that. So do it again.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm just Julian. I don't have much time. I actually have to get to an appointment soon, but I stopped by to see if you had taken advantage of the free energy assessment program that like lowers the cost of your area's electric bills because of all that high inflation going on. A lot of your neighbors have actually done this. Have you guys actually done that yet? So that's the main structure. I usually had like the neighbors part.
So I would, yeah. So it's after the introduction, just da-da-da, and I can't even stay long. I apologize, but real quick, not sure if you guys know what's going on or not. It's actually easier if I show you, and then you can kind of transition. And be like, this is here, this we did from here, 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 here. I don't know if I could actually do that for you. But would you be opposed to, or would you be against da-da-da? And if you get agreement at that point, then at that point, I just give like a brief overview of, well, this is the process. I'm just step one. Yeah, and then they give an overview. This is the process and then you can transition to the house. Like, well, that makes sense to you. Next step is just make sure it makes sense to us. Do you know if it's here, or you got like a small corner of the table? I can jot some notes down for you. That way you'll have them. Put my shoes on or off. So as far as like, you can open up the same way, just slow it down. Hey, just Joseph. And I apologize. I can't even tell. I got an appointment I got to get to, but no, real quick, not sure if you guys know what's going on or not. And then you can kind of turn to the side and have something that shows other neighbors doing it, whatever. That'll cut out a lot. And then I would go for a no question, meaning like, is it ridiculous to think? Would you be opposed to da-da-da? There's absolutely zero cost to that. Would that be like a dumb idea? I would say no. I'm like, okay, cool. That's your agreement. And like, cool. And then just give them like an overview. Well, this is the process. It takes like 2 weeks. I have no idea how long your process takes.
24 hours.
Okay, but it's a bit. I don't know. This isn't something we can just do. Like, I got to get a little bit more information from you. But if that makes sense to you, next step is make sure it makes sense for us. Like, and then transition in the house.
Okay, so you wouldn't like even ask situational question at the doorstep.
So like, if you notice that we got situational questions and there's there's like 3 different kinds of situational questions. You get when you're sitting down in a presentation, NEPQ situational questions.
Yeah.
And then you have like what's going on. So like you have a free, what'd you say? Energy assessment going on.
Yeah.
That's a situation. That's what's going on, right? But that's a different kind of situation. And then you have like their situation, you know, like with solar, it's like roof, electrical, electric bill, you know. So those like 3 different types of situation questions.
Okay. Makes sense.
And you're using their situation as like a takeaway for it might not work for you. Let's go take a look, and then you can use that as leverage to inside the house, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
So slow down and then be like, not sure if you know what's going on or not. It's actually easier if I show you, and then you can like transition. I don't know what you sell, but you can use leverage with the neighbors, the existing, do a takeaway, and then transition. You always want to take it away before you go for the transition.
Okay, makes sense.
Good question. Where are we at? Who we got here?
When it comes to mention the no questions, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you kind of do that throughout, like the Chris Voss style, where you like try to, because people have a tendency to want to say no, do you try to lean your questions more towards a no answer? Because then I hear other people say, you know, old school shit is like get them to say yes a bunch of times in a row.
Yeah, I do. It's a mix. It's never, there's no like hard rules, but I like to do no questions on the doorstep. I'll do no questions on the doorstep, or the or mine are like playback clarify or playback probe. Like, hold on. When you say, how do you mean exactly? Or like, hold on. Like when you say, tell me more about that. And that's a great way to ask questions. So it's either I'm doing like a playback clarify or playback probe, or I'll just do a no question because they feel more comfortable saying no on that way. Like, yeah. You want to save money on electric bill? You're done.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
A quick question on situation questions. I do HVAC in-home sales. And I'm wondering, you know, we have a comfort survey that we already asked once we kind of sit down with them. It's about 9 or 10 questions that are just all the situation type stuff. Send it over to you?
Yep.
Okay.
We're gonna inject that bad boy with steroids, get some performance enhancing questions.
Okay, I'll have to send that over to you. Is it too many questions if we have, you know, 8 to 10 questions in a row for that part of the situation questions?
What point do you bring this up? What point do you do this? When do you do it?
So we're just gonna do, they already set the appointment, so they know we're there. So I'm gonna go into the home.
Somebody else set it and then you go in and close it?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go into the home and see if I can just introduce myself and everything, and then see if we can sit down so I can ask them a few questions. I'll go through like my connecting, you know, problem statement, connecting questions quickly, and then ask them if I can ask them a few more questions just so I better understand their needs. And that's when they know, obviously the survey is right on the clipboard in front of them. So, you know, I guess but it says in EPQ, you know, try not to ask more than like 3 to 4 situation questions in a row. So that's what I was wondering, am I making it too much like an interrogation, you know?
Some industries require more.
Yeah.
And some industries they feel like they're being interrogated. So you'd have to be careful. I would watch, obviously, like how are they responding? Are you losing them there? Like you bring it up for a reason.
Yeah.
So it sounds like
it depends. Yeah, it depends on the customer. But yeah, I think sometimes you get towards the second half of the survey and the customers just get quick, short answers. And maybe they're not giving the whole story because they're just like sick of it. So I guess I was wondering, should I try to spread the second half of some of the questions out? Like when we go in the basement and look at their furnace, maybe try to ask a few down there or something like that, like spread them out more.
Yeah, without seeing it, like my guess would be you probably could get ready quite a few of them. but there is a way to leverage that. Especially and pepper in some identity. So I'd like to see what that is. And then how do you start the presentation off? Like, how do you normally do when you walk in the house?
Pretty much I think like connecting questions and stuff like that. It's pretty much, hey, it looks like you called the other day about possibly updating your furnace and AC just to help, save on some of the utility bills, especially with all the high inflation going on. Does that sound about right? Something along those lines.
So it looks like you scheduled an appointment, whatever, about possibly whatever about that. Cool. So what are we looking at today? And go
You'd
quiet.
recommend- Okay. Yeah. So typically,
So
I'll ask them.
Say that again. So do that same thing again. How you start off?
Where I started out. Okay. So it looks like you guys had called in the other day and we're looking at possible options for replacing your furnace and AC system, just so you can maybe save some on your utility rates with all the inflation going on. Does that sound right?
Right. Yeah. So you can cut some of that out. Just be like, hey, I'm so and so, da da da, and then after that, at the very beginning, put it on them. They set the appointment with you, and so like, cool, like, So what are we looking at today?
Yeah. So my question sounds similar to
No,
that I asked.
I want you to say that
Okay. So what are we looking at today?
and go quiet. That's it.
Okay. So what are we looking at today? Okay.
Yeah, it looked like whatever time that it looked like you were, maybe interested in looking at possibly whatever it is that you sell. Like, yeah, cool. But yeah, awesome, man. That's cool. So what are we looking at today?
Okay. So right after that first kind of
Very
connecting
beginning.
question.
Very
Okay.
beginning.
Oh, before anything, just ask that first.
Yeah, because when you go in there, like when you're starting off your presentation.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, run it again. I want to make sure you get this. So
Okay.
start off, walk in the house.
So walking in the house. So you're saying I should say that, what are we looking at today first before I say anything?
No, like
Okay.
go with the same thing like you
Okay.
did. Like, hey, about possibly what is it?
Okay. Yeah.
Say
So
that.
it looked like you'd called in the other day because you've been having some issues with your furnace and AC. I know our technician was up. Yep. You might be having some issues there. And you're looking at possibly replacing it just so you can maybe save on the utility rates
And you might
with all the.
I'll just stop right there. And you might be looking at possibly replacing it.
Okay. Just don't talk about the inflation.
And then just stop right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like you called in the other day because you're looking at possible options of maybe replacing your furnace and AC system there.
And then right there.
Okay.
Right there. Period.
So what are we looking at? What are we looking at today?
Boom! Winner, chicken dinner, man.
Okay,
Hey.
cool. Okay, so just keep it simple so we get focus on them and figure out what they're trying to accomplish.
That's all you need. They'll spill the beans.
Because I think before in my script it was like, what were you hoping to get out of this visit with me as well, just so I have a better understanding or something like that.
Yeah. No. So what are we looking at?
Okay.
Yeah. So what time?
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like you called in the other day just to get some information on possibly replacing your furnace and AC system. So what are we looking at today?
There we go. Love it, man.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Joseph, I had a quick question.
Fire away.
So I've been in Inner Circle for about 3 weeks now. I'm also in solar, selling mostly in Arizona and California, so obviously very saturated markets. I am transitioning into a role from doing it all myself to now going and leading a division at a bigger company. My question is,
Doing
when
it all,
trying to, yeah.
like
So
people.
setting like the whole deal, right? Like everything from cold calling to setting appointments to doing the consultations to closing to project management, yada yada yada. I'm joining a company that has a lot of those things already in place. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is when I'm going in, I start next week. When I'm going into these guys and I'm talking to their marketing department about, this is the numbers that we need. What is a realistic goal? Or like, do you have anything in place from a metric standpoint saying, I want to sit in, 15 appointments a week? I know it's a little bit different because, you're setting the appointments or people are setting them for you door knocking, where this is, at least for right now, mostly virtual. But is there anything that I could go in there and be like, hey, I want to sit in 15 Zoom calls a week in order to really make this worth it for you guys and myself?
Here, help me out. I don't understand the question all the way. So you're right now like a one-man band. You do everything. You knock on the door. You set the appointment. You close the appointment. Door to door, virtual.
Yep.
You do.
It's virtual. So I'm buying
Okay.
leads, age data, all the stuff, right?
So
So
yeah, you get the lead, and then
Yep.
everything's done virtually, and now you have an opportunity with a bigger solar company that's basically doing that already.
So they've been on the commercial side, and now I know their VP of. They recruited me because I know their VP of sales to come and build out their residential side. So like what I've already done over the last year, they want to scale that. I couldn't scale that myself.
Yeah, what
I
are
had
their
a couple reps who,
of you?
in terms of production, in
Yeah.
terms of sales.
Yeah, what are they?
And that's kind of the cool part about this is like, I haven't started yet, and we haven't sat in a conference room and saying, hey, this is what we expect. All they know is I've been selling for 6 months by myself, part-time, having some success relative to the solar world, because obviously there's a lot of money to be made. But I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around going in there next Monday and saying, hey, in order to have success for you guys, for your investment into marketing, infrastructure, salaries, commissions, this is what needs to happen. Right. I wasn't taking that many appointments a week because I was trying to do everything myself. So now I'm just trying to wrap my head around, what is normal in the industry in terms of leads to consults to closes, etc.
I'm still a little. Can somebody else help me out? I want somebody. I want to understand your question. I still don't. I apologize.
My company presets my appointments and I do virtuals, I think is what you're saying.
Yep.
And we do 2 to 3 per day. So it varies
Okay.
kind of based on what marketing can provide for you. And then also based on how many days you're going to work.
Yeah.
If that
for sure. No, and that's
not
it's a long-winded way.
More than 3 per day.
Okay.
Because the company's setting the standard. So now they're going to expect 2 hours for that call for you, whether or not you can do it in 35 minutes.
Right.
My man, Chris, thank you. You want a job?
Sorry, Joseph. It was a long-winded way of asking for a little help in terms of metrics from the solar world.
I apologize. I wasn't able to help. I will say this, like as far as like little tip when companies like reach out and whatnot, there's so much focus like on something like how can I add value to you? I don't say shit about what I want. I don't say shit. I'm like, how can I add the most value to you? What does that look like? So I want to add the most value. How can I add value to you?
Yeah.
And then the focus is on them. They love it because usually people come in here. Give me all your money. I want this per deal. I want that. I never start off like that. Like I want to add the most value. What would be the most valuable thing for you? How can I add value to you?
Right. Yeah, we're like, I've been meeting with them over the last month, really asking them what they're looking to get out of the residential side, because they've been on the commercial side, they've been on the warehouse lighting, things like that. They've never been in residential solar, and so I was really trying to understand why now, right? You could have been in this They've been around for 12 years. You could have been in residential solar 12 years ago. Why now? But now I'm transitioning. I've been hired. Now I'm transitioning into like, okay, now let's develop this whole entire program. What are your expectations? What are my expectations? And how can I help all of us get to the point where this makes sense with you guys investing into a residential solar division?
Yeah. And then get you want specific metrics, like what does success look like specifically? What does it look like? Like, so
Yeah.
first, like how can I add value? Like, I want to add the most value. What is me adding value? Like, what does that look like? And then you need to know what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Like, and that needs to be clear. Like, cool, you coming over? Awesome. Like, what are your expectations? What are you expecting today? What are you expecting by the end of the first quarter, end of the first year? Where do you want to be? What does success look like? What are those metrics? What does that look like?
Awesome.
Yeah. And then
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks, Chris.
yeah. I didn't even answer his actual question. Okay, so I wasn't able to keep fire away. We got people in here that will. I can't. Ron, nice to have you. Ron Brooks.
Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. Todd,
All right,
man,
I got.
your beard, brother. You got some
Thanks,
company.
mate. I know. I got Todd to keep up with over there. So
Don't sleep. Take some prenatal vitamins.
Oh yeah. Here's one for you. I got a guy. He has been. I know we're just all over the place this morning. This guy has been beating me up on small details, and I'm only been beating PQ for about a month now.
Beating you up with small details. Give me an example.
No, dude. He has looked in. So I'm in Southern California. He's looked up if solar is going to increase his property taxes, all that kind of stuff, and he is now worried about time of use getting his all his credits. And I'm like, dude, you're worried up on so many details, like you're missing the big factors. How do you get past these guys, man? I'm struggling.
Let me pull up that Google Doc. Give me one sec. Identity, and you're gonna have to tweak this.
Okay.
Where'd it go? This is not for solar, but it is an example of people who want to dive into all these micro details. Give me one sec.
Yeah. No, this guy's even one where my mentors are like, this guy's just hung up on bullshit.
When it comes to identity, Joseph, is there like somebody you kind of study off from? Because I mean, I know that's not really Jeremy's ballpark.
Yeah. I'm always learning the three people that I like. Like when it comes to sales, there's no better content than Jeremy Miner. I switched out some of my questions with like no questions. That's obviously Chris Voss. And then the identity stuff is Chase Hughes. And basically what I've been finding is at the beginning of the doorstep, like I'll straight up like use that, which is not, necessarily NEPQ. And then I use NEPQ's questions, but I just turn those ideas into identity.
Thanks, man.
Where is it at?
Which one are you looking for? I can maybe help you, Joseph.
Yeah, the guy, he wanted to dive into all these micro details. He gave that example at that Miami thing. I might even send you that video. It's like they're you get these people, not he literally dives into it. He's like, yeah, these people, they want to dive into micro details. What the crap is it?
Yeah, and just a little more on this one. I've earned this guy's trust. He said he's had, 10 other people come by and he's like, I want to go with you, but I'm still waffling.
So you do want to be careful, like, and that's cool that you guys trust. You know how the brain can only like focus on one thing at a time,
Yeah.
And so if that's all he's focusing on, is he able to feel the consequences or even consider the consequences of staying in his current situation?
Hmm.
Like that's not being considered and that's not being felt.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like so tied up on this and he's not even considering what's that scripture? You strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, like right.
Yeah.
And so you to kind of hedge against that, like sometimes you can you want the majority of his focus to be on the problems of
Yeah.
the power company, not these things that mean like so small, like, yeah, how does that compare to this, and this? So
Mhm.
he's like, it's like an intelligence need, like he needs to be seen as smart and anyways.
It is for him, especially he was an energy manager for a pharmaceutical company, so he knows more than me.
Exactly. So, and he gets off on that, and that's fine. And so you want to congratulate him with that and give him a compliment on that and fill his brain full of those chemicals. And you can leverage that against whatever behavior you want. It's like, man, I'm so glad I'm talking to you. You're super educated. You know what you're doing. Like I get a lot of people in here. I don't want to call them idiots, but they don't have a lot of experience. They don't really doing this. Kind of jump into things. Everything. Every time I speak to one of these people, man, they all say they always want to get into these micro details. They want everything, is going to work out fine. Like they have no confidence in themselves. They don't think they don't really trust themselves. It's just really good to be speaking with somebody like you. It's something like that along those lines.
Gotcha.
Because you're complimenting him on his need, and then he needs to be seen that way.
Mhm.
And for him to be congruent, for him to be seen that way, those type of people don't go into that, right? Like we got these people, they're insecure. I don't want to call them dumb, but they want to dive into these micro details and they have to know what this is. In reality, they're just not they just don't trust themselves. They're not smart enough to realize a good decision is being made or something like that. That'll be fun. I'll find it and send it to you.
Okay.
Are we friends?
Hey, Joseph, quick question. As far
Let's see. I don't know if we are friends.
Well,
We
shoot
will
me
be
a
sure.
Put
on
open
mess-
that doc if you would.
I'm like searching. It's in my notes, and it's like 8:08. I feel bad. I wanted to, and I can shoot him that over, and I'll shoot over to you guys as well.
quick
you find-
question.
I found
Sorry.
you. I friended you.
Okay, cool. Reese,
Go ahead. My bad.
did you find that? Did you find the one that I was trying to look for?
No, that's what I was looking for. Throw it in that doc. So, because I have, I'll get those. I can think you and I spoke about that with the Eastern Indian guys.
Yeah, I'll send it over. Yeah, if you had, I was gonna have you, send over real quick. But yeah, no worries. I'll get over to you, Rob.
Keep
And
looking too.
Joseph, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I got you. And prenatal pills, dude. We're gonna see if we can beat my homeboy here. Where's he at?
Dude, this is trim, man. See, I see Todd there. He's looking.
But Todd's is just thick, man. Anyway, sorry, Chris. Keep going.
So for yes, Todd's beer is glorious, by the way. As far as problem awareness goes, when you were talking about the grid, right? How you like to bring that up. Do you think it's okay to like mention other parts of the country, or should you kind of focus on the problems that are more local? So like I'm in Florida and I kind of bring up like the whole California thing, how it's like, oh, we want to go electric cars, and now they're asking people not to charge their fucking cars? Or should I just, especially being in Florida, I just kind of like hurricane season's right now. So like we're about to get smacked with one on Wednesday. Should I just focus on local grid issues, or is it okay to bring up nationwide?
Whatever
New York
whatever,
has issues in the
yeah.
winter.
Like whatever's gonna have the most impact on them, which probably just be locally, like a lot, you know, a lot of problems with energy, you know, and it's not that the power companies are bad people. They just have these, you know, 100-year-old infrastructure. Like, look what's going on in California. What's going on in California is going to be here in our doorstep in 5 years, you know. But like here, we're dealing with hurricanes, you know. But in 5 years, that's where we're headed over here. And it's not like they're bad people. It's just like, I don't name the person that can fix 130-year-old infrastructure. Like they're just putting band-aids and band-aids and band-aids, and those costs just keep getting handed down to the ratepayer. And how does that affect you? You know, like that's why I mean with John is he just didn't like the idea of his family relying on this 130-year-old infrastructure, you know, for power. He didn't really like that. He wasn't comfortable with that.
Right. You think focusing on that, I mean, not to direct it towards a specific thing, but do you think that helps sell batteries as well? Like focusing on the grid, because obviously if you don't have batteries, you're out of luck when the grid goes down.
If they bring the purpose of a door knock is to set an appointment, no more, no less.
Right.
When I'm inside, and if they voice that, I have no problem selling a battery. I haven't sold very many, but I have no problem selling a battery. But the purpose of the door is just to set an appointment, to bring up pain.
Right.
And at the same time, like people going solar does take a lot of stress off the grid, which does help the grid.
Right. All right. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah. We'll do one more real quick and gotta go. 8:12. Shit. Yeah, one more.
Yeah. I got to run. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. It was a good call. Ron, I'll get that over to you.
Appreciate it, Justin.
And then recordings, the quickest way to get this down is to record and send 100%. There's things you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know them. And those are our blind spots. We all have them. And when you can get feedback, it's instant. All righty, gents.
Hey, I got one I'm going to send you, okay?
Do it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Let's try and go.
Love you guys.
See
Go
you.
kick ass.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.